welcome back to the Piston Show. Today we are going to be talking about the Volkswagen Golf GTI and whether or not it still has a place in the automotive industry. If you clicked on this video based on the title alone and you're wondering what is this guy up to, then please hang with me, because I am actually going to try to explain what I mean. Because I'm of the opinion that the entire automotive landscape has changed dramatically in the past 5 to 8 years, or perhaps even 10 years. It is no longer the industry that we once knew and perhaps loved ever so deeply. As Malaysians, we are being introduced to new Chinese brands, perhaps on a near monthly basis. But it's not an event that is exclusive to Malaysia alone. This is something that is happening around the world. That new Chinese brands, perhaps new EV brands, and all of these things are being introduced at an alarming rate. Some of these Chinese brands, what they're doing is they're buying over iconic brands like MG, Lotus and such. And you know, buying that heritage, and then I want to use the word bastardizing, because I'm thinking about Lotus and what Lotus used to stand for at one point of time, you know, with Colin Chapman's lightweight, the pursuit of lightweight performance, and thinking about what Lotus is today. I think that makes a perfect point. This is what a lot of Chinese car makers are doing. They're buying heritage brands and they're just capitalizing on that brand and trying to make a buck out of that. It's working. It's definitely working. Do I like it? No, I'm a huge fan of Lotus, and I hate what it has become, what the brand has become today. But my opinion doesn't matter, because everything sells. The cars are selling. So I'm just a guy on a YouTube channel ranting away. But the Volkswagen Golf GTI is a very different beast. It's not an obsolete brand. The car model is still around and it's selling in some markets and such. Perhaps not so well here in Malaysia. And you gotta wonder why. Because at 252,000 ringgit, for some of our viewers from out of Malaysia, that's roughly about, I would say, close to 60,000 US dollars. Perhaps even more than that, 70,000 US dollars, nudging 70,000 US dollars. So it's a very expensive car. There's no doubt about it. 252,000 ringgit for the Volkswagen Golf GTI, that's a lot of money. But if you consider the competition, then I think you start to realize what I'm going on about, because the competition did not only catch up, it is smoking the Golf GTI at its own game. Now, when the Golf GTI was first introduced eons ago, it was supposed to be a small car, you know, fun, small, usable, reliable, daily machine. It still is, there's no doubt about it. It still is a fun car. It's not very small anymore. I'm not sure about reliability. But I think Volkswagen has sort of lost the plot a little bit with the Golf GTI. I just want to put it out there that I really can't stand these haptic buttons. These things are terrible, man. And when you're driving on the highway, like what I'm doing right now, and you know, because of the Golf GTI's ride quality, it's not trashy, but it's not supple either. It's not absorbing everything. So you have moments when you're being tossed around, like just now. So when you're reaching out to, you know, do some adjustments, volume, air conditioning and such, that's just too much movement for me to adjust. For example, the air conditioning, if there's just too much wind being blown to my face, it's a two-step process, which is just silly. But to Volkswagen's credit, they know this. They are going to be changing it in upcoming Volkswagen models, and also for the Golf. I really can't wait to see how that turns out for Volkswagen. But then again, it's still a very nice car to drive, no doubt about it. It has got pedigree. It's not as connected as it once was. I really liked the Volkswagen Mark V, but I really truly loved the Mark 6. Mark 7.5, yes, I was a little bit on the fence because that's when it was starting to become a little bit too advanced for my liking already. But the Mark 6 was just perfect in my opinion. It was just the right size, just the right performance. It had buttons. I felt connected to the car. Right now, the steering wheel, its only function is just to steer the car. It's not telling me anything at all about what's going down at ground zero. But that's how Volkswagens have come to be. I just need to pay toll over here. Just bear with me 1 minute. You know, Malaysians don't know how to line up properly when one car breaks down at the smart tag, or not break down, but does not go through the smart tag lane, all hell breaks loose. And anyway, things have changed for the Golf GTI, no doubt. Market has changed, the dynamics have changed, the entire cars have changed as well. The entire landscape has changed for the Golf GTI. And if Volkswagen does not respond quickly, I think the Golf GTI is going to be relegated to the pages of history. Even the ride quality, man, is just... I'm sure you can hear this. The road noise is just terrible. This is terrible. Oh my god. And so let's just analyze this for a second. At 252,000 ringgit, I'm sure if you go and smile sweetly, take your hot girlfriend along, the Volkswagen salesman might give you a discount. But let's just talk about the competition for a second. So a cousin of mine bought a BMW 330i, not the E, the I, for about 270,000 ringgit. If you check online, it retails for about 320, 318 plus lah. But there are campaigns going on and such, so you can get some proper hefty discounts. And the BMW 330i is a nice car. That's a very nice car. And it's more spacious than this, it's more comfortable, it drives better, it feels better. And when you put the Volkswagen and the BMW brand next to each other, I think you know what I mean. And now we talk about the electric competition. And this is where things just... everybody is going to give the Golf GTI a black eye. Simple as that. So, the smart #1 Brabus is slightly cheaper than the Golf GTI. It has over 400 PS. Over 400 PS. It's just a rocket, that thing. It's such a fun car to drive also. And it feels better built. In fact, it feels much better built than the Golf GTI. And even though it does not have buttons and such, which annoys the hell out of me, but because it has a bigger screen, it's easier to navigate through. That's the smart #1 Brabus. And then you talk about the likes of the Tesla Model 3 Performance. Huh. And I'm on the fence about EVs. I do believe that they have their place in the automotive world. I can't stand you EV fanboys, but I don't mind the cars. EV fanboys, man, bloody hell. So anyway, EV cars, great cars. They have their place, no doubt. Will they replace internal combustion engines? No. Are they the future? We'll see more of them on the road, but I don't think we are going to see lesser petrol engines on the road either, or internal combustion engines on the road. So the Tesla Model 3 retails for about 245,000 ringgit. 0 to 100, 3 seconds, brother. Now tell me again why the Golf GTI is relevant. So, but you can argue about, oh, range lah, bro, this lah, that lah, reliability lah. Yeah, Volkswagen is not an angel either when it comes to that department. But when it comes to range, I'm seeing a range of 360 kilometers right now. and I'm just quarter tank down from a full tank. So roughly about a full tank will take me about 400 plus kilometers, which is roughly about the same range that you're going to get in a Tesla. And in the smart #1 Brabus, they will probably do a WLTP 300 plus kilometers lah. Now that would obviously depend on your driving style, but you get my drift. And then when you go further down, you can get a BYD Seal Performance for just 210 or 215, something like that, or cheaper I think. Can't remember the price of the BYD Seal Performance, but I'm quite sure it's cheaper than this. And then you get the GWM Aura 07 Performance. You get my drift lah. And those are bigger, they are faster, even though they are heavier, but they just can do everything the Volkswagen Golf GTI can do, and sometimes do it better. So why is there still a place for the Volkswagen Golf GTI in this world? I'm in the Golf GTI Mark 8, and I know it's due for an update. It's due for an urgent update, but before that comes along, we just got to acknowledge what we have lah. So this is the car that we are going to be talking about. But for now, I've spoken a little bit too much, and I just got to take some time out to acknowledge our wonderful sponsor of this video. We'll be right back in 60 seconds.
Hey guys, what are some of the things that you consider when choosing a petrol brand? For me, I make sure that the petrol can keep my engine clean and also give me better mileage. I'm sure everybody thinks about this when choosing a particular brand. With BH Petrol's Infinity RON 9504M, you get precisely that. It has special German additives that reduces the amount of deposits that build up in your engine over the long term, keeping it clean. It also has improved friction modifiers that reduces the amount of friction that your engine has to go through, ultimately giving you better mileage and making BH Petrol's Infinity RON 9504M the right choice.
Thanks for sticking around, guys. Acknowledging our sponsor is basically how everybody's salaries get paid. It's how we keep the lights on in our office. It's basically how we keep our channel going. So acknowledging our sponsor is an integral part of all our videos. Thank you for understanding, and thank you for sticking around. So back to the Volkswagen Golf GTI. I think I've made my point. But that's not to say that it is a horribly bad car and you should stay away from it entirely. The Golf GTI still is a rather nice car, I would say. Despite all those niggles I mentioned about earlier, this road noise I just can't stand, but it is what it is. The seats though are comfortable, though they are rather large, and because they're so big, I think it hinders the forward visibility of the passengers at the back, and that might lead to, nausea and such. But besides that, I do understand the appeal of the Volkswagen Golf GTI. It is a nice car to drive on a day-to-day basis. It's not small anymore, but it is quite small as compared to some of the other cars out there, and that's something that I really believe in. That I for one, I don't like being driven. I get a headache every time I'm being driven in a car, whether in the back seat, front seat. I'm just a horrible passenger. So I like to drive, and if I'm driving on a day-to-day basis and attending events, meetings, just doing my family stuff and all, I like a small car. I preferably with big power, but that's quite rare to come by these days. So I like a small car, and which is easy to live with on a day-to-day basis. I can just park it anywhere, not worry about it. And the Golf used to be like that. However, it has grown bigger. But because it has grown bigger, it has also become more comfortable. The road noise, the suspension harshness aside, Yeah, the suspension is quite hard. I pick up on everything. Some might call this sporty, but it's a bit too much. And besides that, I really like the entertainment system, that the Harman Kardon entertainment system that this car comes with. I also like the fact that it comes with adaptive cruise control. I like all of that. But at 252,000 ringgit, it's not cheap. And at that price range, the competition is stiff. It's stiffer than a pegged patiala. All you Punjabi followers will know what I'm talking about. And that's the thing about operating in this price range. And that's why I approach this video in such a manner. Is the Golf GTI still relevant in this day and age? 2 years ago, about 2.5 years ago, I picked up the Golf GTI and drove it to Kuantan, and my angle then was whether it was a great family car. And I proved that you can live with this on a day-to-day basis, and you can live with it as a family car and such. But as your family grows, you are going to have some problems. Now though, because there's so many new cars in the market in this price category, that is difficult to justify the case for the Volkswagen Golf GTI. It's just terrible. And I mean, in this price range, the competition is stiff. I've already mentioned that already. And 2.5 years ago, we didn't have Tesla in the Malaysian market officially. We didn't have Smart. We didn't have BYD. We didn't have GWM. Now we do. And that's not even mentioning all those fun cars that are available in the used car market. These are just, everything that I just told you about is in the new car market. And besides, these haptic buttons, yeah, if you don't already notice, I'm not a fan. Besides that, the Golf GTI, day-to-day basis, fun, very fun. I do, however, really like driving this car in sport mode. I think that is when the character of the Golf GTI really shines through. Because if you're driving in normal mode, comfort mode, eco mode, whatever, it's just too lazy. The turbo takes a bit too long to spool up. There's just too much turbo lag. You put your foot down and the car, it's confused about what you want to do with your right leg. But in sport, yes, in sport mode is when this car truly comes alive. And I like it. I really like it. Now, let me take you for a walk around the interior, show you the boot, talk a little bit about the engine, which is, by the way, it's still that 2-litre, still the same 2-litre, 245 turbocharged, what am I talking about? 2-litre turbocharged engine making 245 PS. That has not changed. And that's still quite a fun engine. It just needs a more eager turbocharger. But maybe that's just the character of the car. I'm not sure. Anyway, let me take you for a walk around the interior. So even though Volkswagen Malaysia has updated the Golf GTI from time to time, the interior remains largely the same as it was when I first drove this car 2 years ago. That's not really a bad thing because, I mean, it's a comfortable place to be in, quality seems nice, and I got no complaints. Except for a couple of things that just irritate the OCD in me, and such as this panel over here, this piano black panel, as you can already see, is just picking up dust. It's way too dusty, and these edges and nooks and crannies over here, there's just going to be too much dust that settles in there, and it's just going to irritate me. And the haptic buttons, if you've been following the automotive news, even Volkswagen's biggest big boss in Germany, I can't remember his name, has acknowledged that haptic buttons don't work and they are a safety hazard. Nothing works better than physical buttons, and Volkswagen has acknowledged that, and they have said that for future models they are going to physical buttons and knobs are going to make a comeback. And this is what I actually mean by saying that. For example, now if I want to play music, right, if I want to adjust the volume, I either press this or slide my finger, or I do the same over here as well. It could be as simple as turning a knob. Sometimes technology just bastardizes things, I think. Anyway, besides that, you get these massive screens over here that obviously one is for infotainment and one is the classic meter panel. But one thing I do like about this classic meter panel over here, this digital meter panel here, is that I can adjust it to show me stuff like watch this. So now I can change it to an entire GPS map, and besides that I can change it again to sort of show nothing much, and then this is just like the speed, and then this the RPM dial, and I can also change these little dials on the side. For example, if I wanted to show the fuel gauge, I can change it to the fuel gauge, and on the left currently is showing me what music I'm listening to. But if I wanted to show something else, such as the operating temperatures, now I can change that. So this I really appreciate. That's no doubt about it. So there is some good in there. The other thing that I really like about the Golf GTI are the seats. They look really nice. They're very supportive, very sporty, very ganas. But for a car that costs over 250,000 ringgit, only the driver gets electronic seats with memory function. The passenger still gets a very old manual adjustment, and then because of the size of the seats and they look great, feel great, comfortable, but because they're so big, it just basically hinders the forward view for the back passengers. This is the same comment that I had when I first drove this car 2 years ago. Even though I managed to take my family to Kuantan in it, it was fun and all. It's a really nice car on the highway, but the seats for the back passengers, they're just way too big, and if you're claustrophobic, it's not going to be helpful. Besides that, the sitting position, the pedal shifters, everything looks and feels nice. I think this is a definite win for the Golf GTI. Remove the haptic buttons, reintroduce buttons and knobs, physical buttons and knobs, and this would be a very, very nice place to be in. So in terms of storage space, particularly in the boot, well, it's a Golf GTI, so you can't really expect much. It's good enough for a weekend's getaway, I guess, but if you're going to have a stroller and all, if you have a family, it's not going to do you much good. But you do get a temporary spare wheel, so that's pretty decent in my books. However, if there's one thing that the Volkswagen Golf GTI really needs, it is that it is in an urgent need for an update. It's already beginning to look dated. It's not to say that we see a lot of Golf GTIs running around on our roads these days. Fact of the matter is, we don't see a lot of Golf GTIs running on our roads these days. Which brings me to the topic of this video. Is the Golf GTI still relevant? Because at over 252,000 ringgit, it is not cheap. You can get a BMW 330i, but more interestingly, you can even get a smart #1 Brabus. I know what you're thinking. Why are you comparing an EV to an ICE internal combustion and a car that is powered by an internal combustion engine, bro? Well, why not? It is still in the same price range. Roughly, it will, if you drive this car spirited, which you should, it's a Golf GTI, right? If you're driving it slow, then go buy a Honda City hatchback, man. But for that same amount of money, the smart #1 Brabus has more power, it's more fun to drive. Yes, you can talk a little bit about range. The #1 Brabus probably will not have as much range as this, but when it comes to the traffic light drag wars, that smart #1 Brabus is going to leave you in the dust. And that's when you're going to realize that the Volkswagen Golf GTI is probably, I'll let you make that conclusion. So for me, I think it's in a need of an update, and I think it also needs to revisit its pricing. Volkswagen Malaysia needs to revisit the pricing of the GTI, because at 252,000 ringgit, it just does not cut it anymore. The competition has caught up, and guess what? The GWM Aura 07 Performance can even smoke this thing at the traffic light drag wars, and that thing just costs 190,000 ringgit. So if you want to remain relevant, you have to keep up with the times. Otherwise, everything else is just going to leave you behind in the dust. Thank you for watching, guys. As usual, do consider subscribing and click that like button for me. Thanks.